Hey, I'm Jenna. My channel is about beginner embroidery, and if you want to see how I embroidered this hat, stick around. My style for Disney merch are things like this, which is like cute and obviously cute. Everyone thinks their style is cute, but like more subtle in neutral tones. I don't like a lot of words or like, I know this is kind of a character, but like specifically, like characters. I think it looks a little bit more mature, which is definitely what I go for my Disney merch. I think this would be a cute embroidery project for kids, and I'll explain how you can make this kid friendly in the actual like as I'm doing it section. If you want to jump right to that, it is the overhead shot. So when it switches to overhead, that's when I'm actually like going through the steps of making it. But I also think it would be cute for like adults. I think it's really cute for myself. And also for bachelorette parties, I think that it would be fun if like each of the bridesmaids had, let's say like a blue hat with a white roses, and then she did the white hat with like a blue Mickey. I feel like you could customize this however you want. And it's so simple, and embroidery is so inexpensive if you don't have to pay for a pattern. And here there's no pattern needed, so I think that's like a big bonus. To make this hat, you just need 2 beginner stitches. So you need to know the woven rose stitch and the French knot stitch. There are a ton of YouTube videos and shorts on how to do those 2 stitches. So I would check those out, and then you'll be ready for this project. The supplies you need, I think you can get them all for under $10. Here, I didn't know how it was gonna turn out, so I just used an old baseball cap that had a logo that I covered up with black tape so you could like get a better idea of the vision. But I do think I'm gonna get just a navy hat and like embroider one that's more permanent. I looked on Michael's, and you can get baseball caps for under $5, and then thread is pretty cheap. So if you are looking to this project, I think the things you need, I made a list, are, again, I think this is gonna be all under $10. But you need a hat, so either one you have, or again, Michael's has cheap ones, probably the Dollar Store, but I didn't go and check. You need thread. I use DMC thread. Here I actually use the thread from the like intro kit, beginner kit that I learned how to do my basic stitches on. But when I do this on my real hat for good, I'm gonna use DMC thread because it seems to be like the highest quality, and also it goes on sale at Michael's all the time for like 55 cents. I didn't say this in the later part, but you're gonna use a 6-strand, I guess it's floss, 6-strand floss, so you don't have to split the floss, you keep it as is. You need a needle, so a needle for 6 strands. So you need an embroidery hoop. I just checked, and the one I used was 3 inches. That ended up working great because I could get close to the edge here on this, sort of a curved design, and it was small enough to keep that section flat without distorting the brim or having to like really stretch out any of it. So I recommend a 3-inch hoop. I think it's under $5. I got my hoop for $1.99 at Michael's, so there are definitely budget-friendly hoops that you can get. You also need something to draw on your hat with. At first, I used a sewing pen, so one of those ones this one happened to be water-soluble, but water or heat-soluble, and it didn't really show up, so I ended up just using a white colored pencil. That worked out great, and then I just rubbed it off the like extra areas. So if you don't want to go out and buy a sewing pen, I think that a Crayola, my brand happened to be Crayola, but a colored pencil would work out great. I would just test it on a spot on the fabric where you're not super concerned about, just to make sure that it works and you're able to get it off. So that's all you need. You don't need to buy a pattern. Okay, so let's get into how I made it. For this project, we're gonna be making a Mickey Mouse out of 3 woven rose stitches along with some French knots. So since we're not gonna be using a pattern, step 1 is gonna be to find 2 objects in your house that can be used to create the circles. Here I'm using just a wine cork along with a thimble, and that ended up being a great size for Mickey's face and then his 2 ears. To do the tracing, if you have some sort of sewing pen that dissolves with water or with heat, great. Otherwise, here I just used a Crayola colored pencil, and it worked out fine. So I'm just tracing, again, the 3 circles. Once you have the 3 circles outlined, the next step is going to be to draw in your odd number of lines to the center. So as a reminder, with woven rose, we're creating an odd number of threads that go to the center that the main thread will be weaving in and out of. So odd is important because we need it to alternate over and under. Here I did 5 for both the big circle and the ears, and I think in the future, if I was going to do this one again, I would do 7 on the big circle and keep the 5 on the ears. Having the 7 on the main circle would just keep it a little bit more secure. It would have a little bit less slack in the final rows because there'd be more threads over and under, so the threads would be a little bit tighter to the hat. As I mentioned, on the main circle, we're going to be doing a French knot in the center, so that's why I drew this circle in the middle where the lines are meeting up to, as opposed to meeting in the dead center of the circle. So once you're happy with how your Mickey is laid out, the next step is to start stitching. So again, as a reminder, on the woven rows, you're going to start on the outside of the circle and pull your thread. How it was a little bit tricky to get through, but pull your thread to the center and do that for all 5 of your points. Once you have your outline for your woven rows finished, the next step is going to be to start weaving. So again, as a reminder with the woven rows, the trick here is you're going over and under each of those strands that you picked. So that's the importance of having an odd number of strands, because you want to be able to have an alternating pattern of over and under. I also think that makes this craft a great one for kids, because once an adult uses a needle to create the lines that go towards the center, you could use a kid-safe needle, and a kid could use it to go over and under without having to have sort of complicated embroidery or having a needle. So here you will see that I'm just going around in a circle, over and under, until I get to the edge. Floss I'm using here is floss that came with my beginner kit in my Estapil box, which is just a box I got off of Amazon. I went on DMC's website, and I think that the closest colors are DMC's color 3688 or 760, but honestly, with the way that this turns out, use your favorite color. So I use the same technique for this larger woven rows in the middle, but the difference here is I kept a circle in the middle of the woven rows for my French knots. So I went around as usual, over and under, but there was some space between where the points met and the actual center of the circle. Instead of having it meet exactly in the middle, there's a little circle within the woven rows. So again, with the other ear, I'm just doing a woven rose, this time without a hole in the center, and going over and under, and doing that until the ears look like they about match up in size. Once my woven roses were done, I'm now doing a French knot in the middle of Mickey's face here. So as a reminder of that, of how to do that one, it's a strand straight through. You wrap it around the needle a few times. I did alternate between doing 2 and 3. 3 wraps ended up working out best here. And then you put your needle down, sit very close to where you brought it up. And that creates these little knots and a little hidden Mickey in the end inside of my woven rose. I am really happy with how this project came out, and I hope that one of you guys will try it. I had a ton of fun making this, and I think it turned out really cute, and I'm hoping to do a whole series of Disney embroidery using just beginner stitches. So if you are interested in that kind of content, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.